What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We're back with some NBA. Things heating up, dying down for DFS, but heating up for actual real-life basketball. We've got some interesting stuff going on. We've got some great games tonight. We've got some good series. I love the NBA playoffs. I'm going to just say one thing before we get into all of the stuff. I said it before. I'll say it again. I really think if you don't have them, and maybe it's a little too late because the odds are changing how well they played in the first series. I really think Milwaukee is going to be hard to beat in the East, and I think that anybody in the West is very vulnerable. So I think Milwaukee is going to beat Brooklyn. I'm just going to state that right now. No, it's not on this slate, but I think that it's a bet that I had preseason for them to win the East. I had them to win the title. I think they're a really, really good bet right now. I just want to mention that before the Brooklyn game because I think one of these two teams are going to be who comes out of the East. So with that said, let's talk some DFS here. Sheets. This is a game that is going to be. I mean, I don't know how this game is going to stay particularly close. Do you have any thoughts on, any straight betting on this game, or just in terms of DFS?
You think Brooklyn can hang in there? You don't think Boston's going to blow them out? First of all, is Kemba playing? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Yeah. It's going to be tough, but the thing is with the playoffs is I've been doing pretty well actually with the playoffs. I don't understand what happened yesterday. Yesterday I did this video for everybody yesterday. I made a really quick one. I'm like, you just gonna have to eat the chalk with Westbrook, because you don't have to play Embiid. You can play Westbrook and whatever, but Westbrook you just can't get away from. Dude, like nobody played him. I don't exactly understand. I guess people thought he might sit for some reason.
Westbrook?
He was like 15% owned on a 2-game slate.
People thought Westbrook was going to sit.
I have no idea why nobody plays it. That's my whole
That's
thing.
Crazy.
I literally don't get it. It was like the people were playing him at a higher price on a 14-game slate like 3 weeks ago, and it was a 2-game slate. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Right.
Anyway. But what my point was that the playoffs are great because you got the best players going to play 40 minutes, and every game now that becomes must wins. I mean, you get to see freaking Kawhi go off. You know what I mean? And he gets to play 40 minutes, and they play until that game is over, and he's been going nuts. You see these guys in these must win spots. I mean, now it's especially so. For example, and the other day, Tatum, I thought was a lock, and he scored 70 fantasy points. This is whatever the game scores 2-1, 3-1, whatever this is. Tatum's going to play 54 minutes. You know what I mean? Especially with Kemba out. For me, that's probably the toughest fade on the board for me today. I think the Tatum's a lock.
I love Tatum as well. I don't know that I would call him a lock exactly, but I do think that he does stand out. And I think that it's funny because people still have sticker shock with him. But like you said, this is not the same thing we're used to. Do you want to pull up your screen real quick, actually, so we can just go again, do it together? But he's going to take 25 plus shots probably. He's going to play 1 million minutes, and there's no real blowout risk, and it's your last game of the season. So even if it's a blowout, I mean, the last game was a blowout, and he played 40 minutes and put up 62 fantasy points. You know what I mean? I kind of tend to agree. I also think Marcus Smart would be the preferred other guy for me. I look for him to initiate a lot more offense. You could see him in the double digits of assists. I just think that 40 to 50 is really, really, really on the board for him here, and he'll play tough all the way. Peyton Pritchard and Romeo Langford situation is difficult, partially because Stevens is such a good coach, and they lost badly the last game. I don't know if we can expect exact minutes to replicate the same way that they did. So I think that we might see one of them a lot more. I'm going to try and dig as the day goes on this one. I don't know what I'm going to end up with, to be honest. And I am not as interested in Evan Fournier as I think the field will be. I completely think there's always a room for him to get there. We say that all the time, and yet he never does. Even in all these, in the playoff game so far, he just really hasn't done it. He's fine. I think there are other guys. He's on my list, but he's definitely below Smart and Tatum and Pritchard as of right now for me. And Pritchard and Langford is going to be something I struggle with today.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna, and you'll see this when it's kind of a shame the NBA playoffs are not going to be longer with bigger slates, because I've been doing really, really well with this kind of idea.
This is, yeah, you can really project now. We don't need to worry about so many weird things.
No, and not even that, but like the idea is that, I mean, like there's very little value on any of these slates. I mean, like sub 4K guys and stuff like
today,
that.
there's a little bit today though.
Right. My point was that, so you end up like not really being able to play two studs without it really hurting you, right?
Right.
So slowly but surely the stuff has popped up. You know, like you had Bertans the other day. I don't know if you were paying attention, but Bertans was really, really strong play the other day. Then he got hurt, whatever. But he was a really good play. And then like Pritchard the other day was a really good play. Then they announced he was coming off the bench, and of course he was only 12% owned, and he did fine.
Right.
But today, if you don't play, for example, like Pritchard or I guess Caruso, I mean, you could cut into that game. Like you're then going to run into problems playing. Like, for example, you want to play Tatum and Jokic, for example, or something like that, or LeBron or something like that, you're going to run into problems. So you're going to have to make a choice between whether you play just one of those guys or forcing yourself to play like Pritchard and Caruso and stuff like that. So I do have Pritchard right now ranked as a top value, but we got to, like you said, got to do a little more of a dive into that. For me, my favorite play in the game is Tatum, and the Brooklyn side, I just like I said, they're just all too good. I just can't play any of them.
They all get there.
I know. I hear you.
They all put up 60 plus in the last game.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it this particular day, but I certainly am not going to fault you for if you do. What, you like any of them more than the others, or?
I think Kyrie and Harden in the blowout angle stand out the most to me. I love Durant obviously too. I really am having trouble deciding, but I'm not going to let that stop me from playing them. I'm going to want, especially if I'm playing Tatum and Smart, I'm going to want to put one of these guys in my lineups. And at the same time, it's almost impossible to me a scenario where one of these guys doesn't get 60 tonight. And I think there's a good chance for room on that. Kyrie's 8,800. So I'll just go with him. He's the least likely to get there. But he also, if he gets cooking against his old team to knock him out of the playoffs and everything, you don't think they're going to let him take over? That's how this team plays. Your turn, my turn. And this would certainly seem like a spot where, look, whoever's hot, it could be their turn. But Kevin Durant has so many paths to having a great game without having to he could put up 40 real life points and you don't need him on your lineup because he only gets 55 fantasy that night or something because the way that it shakes out. I do think Kyrie and Harden are the guys who I have probably the most interest in, but it's really close between all three. And I think Kyrie is probably the one I'm going to default to because the price you do need the savings, and he's going to be probably about the same owned as those guys, and he's significantly less with a similar ceiling, I would say. And I like the game angle. I like the trying to attack. I mean, look, he put up the monster game in the blowout in Boston in Game 4. They all had big games, but Kyrie's was the best, obviously, point per dollar. I sort of picture this game playing out similarly. So I want to get Kyrie, and I think Kyrie does get extra motivation for things like knocking his team out of the playoffs. I also look at the matchups, and I think Marcus Smart ends up on Harden more than he ends up on Kyrie here. And I think that leaves somewhere between Fournier, Pritchard, and Langford trying to stay in front of Kyrie, which is just going to open his eyes and he's going to light up. So I think Kyrie makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. So he's probably the one I like the most.
Okay, that's so funny. When you guys, you'll see, like, if you like, look, whether it be, and again, like NBA is winding down, so I don't want to get too much into this, but like my NBA values, like if you look at either my projections or anybody else's projections or whatever, and you rank them in any way that you see fit, and then you go and try to build lineups, you're going to see that if you try to play two studs, like even if you play Pritchard and whatever it is, you're going to need to. I mean, the sub 5K options are pretty grim. I even just threw in Covington and there's Jay Crowder or whatever it is. Aside from that, I mean, like it's really, really grim. So you're probably not going to be able to play two 10K guys.
Right.
That's just the way it's going to be. So, anything else in this game?
Nope, we can move on.
What's the Portland-Denver score in the series? Do you know?
It's 2-2. As the series has gone basically exactly the way that I would have imagined it would. And it's going to keep going that way, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Sheets.
Yeah, so for me, it's I don't think I can make Lillard work. Again, I just if I'm going to do that, I'd probably rather get to Tatum or even LeBron. Honestly, that would be my my take. I think Denver's going to have a really good game. I think that Jokic is going to have a really good game, and I think this game's got issues with staying close. I just do.
Who's gonna blow who out? Portland just beat the hell out of them.
I feel you.
No, because I actually had a weird feeling that that's what this series would happen. I think you're going to see the Denver sort of stomping game, but that sort of leans you to want to like try to find a way to play Dame or McCollum. I do expect McCollum to have a monster like real life, like a 40+ real life point performance at some point, and he just hasn't gotten there yet. But you look at Dame even in this series and in general on the road when they really need him in the playoffs, he's been just unbelievable usage-wise and production-wise. It's just, like you said, it's hard with the other guys. I do think that Tatum and Lillard is an interesting debate. Tatum is clearly the better option just because he's the only option, and it could easily go McCollum's way. But like, do I expect Damian Lillard to score 55 or more fantasy points here half the time? Yeah, more than half the time probably. I expect CJ to be over 40 probably more than half the time, even if they're getting stomped. Like, especially if they're getting stomped, you're going to see those guys try to take over. I also like Covington at 4.8. I think that he has just too many routes to get there. We don't have enough value, so Covington is obviously going to be a priority, but he's going to be lower owned today, oddly enough. And I'm leaning McCollum over Lillard if I had to pick one of them because of I need the savings, but I do think this is a good spot for Lillard. And it's probably worth noting that Norman Powell has been really good and no one plays him. He's 5,600. He put up 40 and 36 and 40 and 30 in the last two. 40 and 31. Just another guy like who's on my list. And they're all, and Nurkic as well. They're all solid plays. Just, I don't think you're right. I'm having a harder time prioritizing them. I see them as very similar. But Lillard and McCollum is a tough debate. It feels bad to fade either, but you have to know you're going to get 55 or 60 out of a lot of guys tonight. So you can use that as a reason to justify fading them.
You like Jokic? I mean, obviously I like Jokic, but I mean.
Yeah, it's hard not to like, especially in this game. It's hard for me not to have a ton of interest in him here. It's especially after how poorly the last one went. I will say that I think Nurkic does a good job with them in general. I mean, look, he's still efficient and been good in the series and stuff, but we haven't seen a 60-point game from him yet. The guy who we all keep playing and hasn't gotten there for us and just hasn't played well in this series, with the exception of game one, is Michael Porter Jr. I still like him in that middling price range. I think that, it's just hard because he versus McCollum is like a debate for me. They're close enough in price. I sort of have interest in both. And Austin Rivers is one of the viable under 5K guys that makes you kind of not feel great, but you sort of swallow and he's going to play a ton of minutes in a close game. And you hope that maybe it's the game he gets hot again from the outside, and you just need the value. The problem is he's not going to be like unowned. So there's no real like non-chalky value over here for me.
The more I think about it, Bobby, the more I think you're right. I think that I think that Lillard is a really, really good play. I mean, he's gonna shoot the ball 30 times. I mean, like this is every game's must win. It's 2-2, and I've mentioned this before. I mean, he calls for the ball on the post against these guys sometimes. You know what I mean? Like he thinks he could do anything against Denver, and I think that with LeBron at 98 and Tatum at 10 and Jokic right there at 10-4, you might get 10% Damian Lillard. And if that's the case, the way I don't know what the spread is, but let's say what's the spread, 7, something like that. It sounds about right. That's like the perfect number.
Why is it so high if it's that high?
Because Denver's a better team and they're at home. I mean, like
they're not that. I mean, these teams are really similar.
If they were similar, then it would be like 5 points. I mean, that's what the home field court is worth in these games.
Usually it's 4, but okay.
I mean, the Denver one. I'm saying the Denver
Yeah.
gets it. So that's why it's. But the point is that let's say it hovers around 7. That's like Dame City. You know what I mean? That's like Dame shooting literally every time down in the last 4 minutes. You know, I'm definitely going to force that one in a little bit.
Yeah, I lean Monty Morris, I think, over Rivers tonight. Look, it's tough because Rivers, you have so much more security with the minutes because of the defense you need on McCollum and Lillard. But Morris has, he does lead the second unit and he plays enough minutes and he can even end up closing in a lot of scenarios here. And I could see him even taking away from Campazzo if he's playing well. So I want to play one of these guys probably, and I think I'd lean Morris a little bit ahead of Rivers just because of the uptick, the usage stuff. And the other guy who can, if you think the blowout thing might be a possibility, play Carmelo on the other side. Because if in games where they start getting out of control, they will let him just try to shoot them back in it sometimes. And I know they've got a lot of guys, but he's still playing over 20 minutes, played over 20 minutes in every game in this series. He's been hovering, he's averaged 19 or about almost 20 fantasy points per game at 4.1. So he's got to be on the list of guys that are under 5K. They're all ugly, but we have to consider all of
them. Is it a LeBron game?
Yep. Problem is it's an everybody game. Everybody's in this same situation in this series, but shouldn't we default to LeBron then?
Is Anthony Davis playing?
I don't think so.
MRI, day-to-day, questionable.
I think even if he plays,
unlikely to play. It says it was previously reported he's unlikely to play, but Frank Vogel expressed more optimism during Monday's press conference.
We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he gives it a go, but I think that actually just leans myself maybe even more and more to LeBron. And the Lakers finally figured out what to do. And I'm really annoyed that the one game that I didn't play, the one day I didn't play was the Gasol game, because I played him in every game in the series, including the first game where he had 0 minutes. Because I said if they really want to talk about winning a title, they're going to end up with Gasol on the court. That's just how it's going to work by the time the series is done. He's going to outplay Drummond's minutes if they're doing anything smart, and I believe in Vogel. He made the adjustment, and I know that they got killed in the last game, but I definitely have interest in Gasol at 3,600, as well as Kuzma at 46 without Davis in there. So I prefer, Gasol for the value, but I do like all 3 of those guys, and they'll be in a good portion of my lineups, as Schroeder is the other guy who sort of could easily see an uptick without Davis. I don't think I love him, but I'm interested. And then the other one would be Caruso, obviously, but I think I would lean playing Gasol before Caruso personally, but I think I definitely have interest in both of them.
I'd rather play Caruso just because, I could fill the center spots. You know what I mean? I don't think I need to play Gasol. Who is better, LeBron? Now I'm thinking. Maybe LeBron is just as good as Tatum, especially with no AD.
I think LeBron is the better play.
Maybe he is.
I think they're both awesome plays. I think that's where you should start. I really do.
Yeah. Anything on Phoenix?
So.
Wait. Hold on. Just a cut and pick a minute. Chris Paul is 6,600
in a game that's a game 5. It should
Holy
be
crap.
What are we doing?
Seriously.
to me, that's the other guy you start with. I don't even know what kind of route it would take for him not to have around 40 fantasy points in this game. I really don't. It's just, there's just too much. It's too important of a game. Every big game, pretty much where they need him. And I know he's been hurt, but he did play 32 minutes in the last game and they won. Now that's a little it's a little concerning that he only played 32 minutes in a game that was that tight. And he obviously is still hurt.
Well, because he's hurt.
I don't care. He's 6,600. He's a value play. I wouldn't be surprised if he went for 50 fantasy points and a plus tonight. I really wouldn't. I'm a little concerned about the minutes thing. That's the only thing that's got me a little bit. You need a little more out of him. It's not he's going to go out there and light it up from like scoring, but he'll run the offense down the stretch in a close game, and down the stretch is going to feel like the entire game in this game. And at the same time, I absolutely love Devin Booker, but I just don't see him as being as high owned as people say he's going to be. But if he's going to be this high owned, I'm not going to do it.
Booker? I don't think people are going to play him. You think so?
The ownership project. I'm just surprised he's projected as high owned as he is, but I do think it's a good game for him. They went after it in game 1 with him. I guess doing that again a little bit, especially if Paul is still limited, which he clearly is. I don't think I'm getting to anyone else on this side except for maybe I like Ayton, but I just like other spots better.
Like Jay Crowder?
I like Jay Crowder and I like Mikal Bridges. I just hate that Mikal Bridges has to guard LeBron, so he can't really do anything offensively. But you would think in a game like this that Crowder would be like on the court for a lot more than the 33 minutes he's projected for. And I think there's obviously upside for a guy like him. He's, active and he can shoot. So I definitely like Jay Crowder as he's a part of their core closing everything. And that's how I'm looking at this whole game is going to play out.
You'll see when you build, but people see when you guys build lineups. I mean, you Covington and Crowder, like at that 4,700, 4,800. So those are going to be pretty important guys to get in there. Because there's those between those two, and then Caruso and Pritchard. You know what I mean? That's really it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm like looking like who else. If Romeo Langford gets a play, gets a start, maybe you play him. I don't know. We have to figure that out. But that's one of the reasons why I like Tatum so much. I mean, Tatum's going to be point guard too. You know what I mean? Like he's just going
right. That's right. I agree. I do want to point out on the Phoenix side, like part of the problem even with Paul is like, sounds crazy to say about a playoff series, a tough one like this one against the Lakers, all this stuff with Chris. Cameron Payne has been unbelievably good. I'm not going to play him, but I mean, he's been really, really, really good. And the reason why Phoenix is where they are right now, in my opinion, and it was great in the last game as well. It does keep Paul, they play together too, but they don't tend to play Booker and Paul with because it just doesn't work with their lineup. They're going to end up with Ayton on the court all the time, basically. And then
I have another guy. If Davis is out, what about Kyle Kuzma at 4,600?
I said Kuzma. Yeah, I like Kuzma. I think he's going to talk about it too.
Oh, okay.
But and he's no lock. I mean, just so you know, like realize when he's going to be chalky. Like this is a huge.
Dude, I barely even have him as a play. I'm just kind of throwing him in.
Oh yeah, no, he's projecting pretty good though.
Okay.
So I think that he's like all the Lakers obviously going to look a little.
I'm just looking at these other options. You know what I mean? I'm looking at like other value. I was like looking at Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, sort of. I'm just trying to, Jermichael Green again, terrible play. I mean, he's always bad play. But,
yeah, it's ugly. I mean, the value I'm looking at is I'm going to squeeze in one of the Boston guards. I think that I'm just going to have to do it with the way.
So let's say they start Romeo Langford, for example. I mean, does that make him a better play than Pritchard?
I don't think so.
No, right?
I think they're close. I don't know. I think they're close either way, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I like the second team usage that you would get without. Well, you won't get that much because Tatum's going to be on the court almost the whole game, as will Marcus Smart. But there will be like a few minutes they rest, and even getting 4 minutes in each half from that is a big deal with one of those guys off the court, just because you at least gives you a chance to do something, because those guys are going to dominate so much of the offense. So it's the value today. Like, I mean, that's why I am playing Gasol. Like, I mean, I do see him, and you could play he and Caruso. I mean, but like, I'll just say like Caruso doesn't always, it's no lock for him to play. Like he can play a bunch of minutes and put up no fantasy points. I love him in real life. I just don't think that, I think Gasol is actually the better play. I've got so my priority guys that I came up with. The problem is you can't obviously play all these guys, but so for value guys, Covington, Crowder, not the full value, obviously, but Gasol, one of Pritchard or Langford, potentially both. Seriously, like I'm actually considering that. I don't think that's what I'll end up doing, but I was just looking at it. Caruso, Kuzma, but mostly I think Crowder and I feel more comfortable with Crowder and Covington than I do the others.
Yeah.
The long shot play, if you're playing like that big tournament, is to play Aaron Nesmith.
Ooh, okay, that is definitely different.
Because there is a way, like you said, with Tatum playing the point, Nesmith is
Yeah.
probably the second best shooter on that team.
Yeah.
And if you want a guy who can help keep you in a game, he also like can defend. I mean, it's a tough matchup to defend, so nobody can defend these guys. But I like his intensity and the way he plays. I'm sort of surprised that they haven't given him more minutes. But I you know, they got smoked in the last game. Maybe this is the game they let him come off the bench and play 24 minutes, and maybe he makes 4 or 5 threes. That's completely well within range. So I love him for large field, but not for small big buy-in. We got anything else to add here?
The only thing I would add, nothing. I was looking at FanDuel real quick. I just wanted to see if there's anything remarkably different. Yeah, once again, Fournier is cheap over there at 5,500. I'm just looking. It's just differences on FanDuel. Michael Porter's cheaper over there. Booker.
Yeah, Booker will be 100%, not 100, but close to that owned on FanDuel.
I think that Jokic at center over there is probably
a good idea.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Probably not a good idea not to skip him over there. If you get different and play Ayton over there for low ownership, I don't mind that either.
All right. So is this the last, like, more than 2 games? It's got to be close, right?
It depends on what happens.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're gonna have another one. Maybe
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow we will. But yeah, it's anyway, it should be oh shoot, I just did something. I gotta get our last video loaded. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, so those are sort of where we're at. We'll be with you at 6 Eastern today.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, let's crush it this week, guys. Good luck to everybody.
All right. See you.